Hello. Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association and also a realtor. And our guest this time is our president of our local association of realtors, Coy Knapp. Coy, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you doing this president of realtors thing?
Well, that's not really a fair question because I have no clue why I'm doing it. No, actually, years ago I started into real estate back in 1995 and got into leadership probably about 5-10 years later. I was complaining about how things were going. And somebody told me to put my money where my mouth is and to join the board of realtors to take and get into leadership. And I says, oh, sure. And I didn't think I'd get elected. Well, I got elected. And since then, I've been president of Tuolumne County twice. I've been president of Calaveras twice. And I am a CAR director. That's the California Association of Realtors. Mm-hmm. And I am a National Association of Realtors director. And my term is up this year for the National Association of Realtors. It's been a fantastic learning experience. I go to Washington, D.C. every year, and we usually have to go to a conference at the end of the year. For example, we're going to Boston here in just a couple weeks, and that'll be the end of my term for that.
Well, I notice as a realtor, I have to do an awful lot of paperwork, and I'm not sure who's responsible for that. Now, could that be you?
Well, if it's your transaction, it's your responsibility, yes. Yes, and we live in the great state of California, and there is a lot of paperwork, a lot of disclosures, and, dotting I's, crossing T's, making sure that when you're helping somebody that you're a good, trusted advisor, right, and that you're taking good care of them during the transaction.
Yeah, both parties have to be protected.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I understand that. So as we look ahead, there's some things that Associated Realtors gets involved in politics a little bit.
Yes, we do.
And one of them is Prop 5. Tell us about that.
Well, Prop 5 is something I'm very passionate about. It's an opportunity for people to be able to take their tax base and move it to other counties. Okay? Classic example. There's people that live in houses right now that their homes, their family have left, and it's just the two of them, and they need to downsize. They want to downsize their home. But it's too expensive for them to go someplace else because the tax base is going to be so much more money.
Right.
So what we're doing with Prop 5, that's going to relieve that. They can take their tax base to any, I believe it's 58 counties in California, any one of those counties. Now, another thing is let's talk about the fire victims, the victims that, all the people lost their homes and stuff over, let's say over on the coast and all up and down California.
Butte Fire.
The Butte Fire, yes. They can take that tax base and move someplace else if they need to. It's going to relieve them of a lot of debt and help them. But the biggest thing is right now, it's going to open up some of these homes, and when we're going to talk about housing affordability, it's going to open up these homes so new families can move in and be in these bigger homes.
Now, is this for people that are over 55?
It's over 55, yes.
Okay. Now, another one you're interested in?
Prop 10.
Prop 10.
Yes, Prop 10. And that's another one when we're talking about housing affordability.
Right.
Everybody believes that rent control is going to be the end-all best thing that's ever going to happen. But what it'll do is it's going to cause a lot more problems due to the fact is people will not want to rent anymore. It's not going to make any sense to do so. It's going to cause a lot of extra taxes. It's going to actually be a decrease in homes for renters.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we can do to take and get housing affordability is building more homes. How are we going to build more homes? We need to have CEQA reform. We need to take and talk to the counties, talk to all the government agencies, and make it where it's affordable to build homes again.
Now, CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the thing that sets up the planning commission and the zoning and the general plans.
Yes, all of the above, and they make it very difficult and expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories where they've tried to. Classic example over in Monterey. I was talking to a gentleman, and before he can ever even break ground, before he even walked out of the county, he was at $275,000, almost $300,000 in just permits.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. How can you afford? Now, I know that's a higher rent than up here,
yeah,
but still, they need homes down there just as much as we need homes up here.
Yeah, true. Also, we're blessed with in our country with property rights, which are natural right people have. And a lot of people are not aware that the U.S. Constitution, on Article 5 and Article 14, not articles, but amendments,
right.
The 5th and the 14th Amendment specify natural rights of being life, liberty, and property. Yes. Not pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, property.
and that on that rests the foundation for everything that we do.
Yep. I knew you would say something about the Constitution. I always look to you when I need questions on that.
Well, let's face it. If it were taught in our schools, we would probably have a lot less problems than we have today.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on Prop 10, basically we're talking about price fixing on housing.
Right.
And which means when you fix a price on a house, and the market always flows up and down. It puts a ceiling and breaks up the market. In other words, it's not feasible to build any more housing if you cannot rent the housing you build. That includes apartments and everything else. And so what that means is when you have no more building of homes because of this price fixing, the problem gets worse.
Yes.
The remaining ones become more valuable.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, and then it's been said, and I agree, that this is the origin of the slums in New York.
Okay, yeah.
The origin of the slums in New York. They did price fixing on these tenements, and they were no longer kept up and repaired, and it just turned into a mess for years and years. And they didn't realize that the problem originated by government getting into the market and fixing prices.
Yeah, I definitely believe that we need to have less government in our homes.
Yeah.
But when it comes right down to it, the only way we can make change is that we got to get out and vote on November 6th, and we want to vote yes for Prop 5 and no for Prop 10.
Okay, Prop 10 is a no.
No.
We've got to remember that. Now, the other thing that you're interested in is housing affordability. Of course, we touched on that a little bit with Prop 10.
Well, when it comes to housing affordability, of course, the real estate business and being a realtor, we care about that greatly. Back when we had the crash, they had Dodd-Frank came in and started regulating all the banks. Well, before that, we had a grant that we were doing through the California Association of Realtors and the Calaveras County Association of Realtors. And what it would be a down payment assistance program. So if you're buying a home, a first-time home buyer, you could take and apply for a grant, and we would take and give you some money to help with your down payment. Maybe it'd be $500, maybe $1,000. It just depended on how much money that we had. Well, we had to stop that because of Dodd-Frank. they had all the regulations on that. Well, now they relieved that, so we're starting this program back up. In fact, we just had a rib cook-off in Murphy's, which was very successful, and we were able to get some more money to put into that account. And now we're getting ready to do the housing affordability down payment assistance for first-time home buyers again. So what we're doing is if you have a realtor in our area is dealing with a first-time home buyer, all they have to do is go through an application. It goes through the Calaveras County Association of Realtors Charities Fund,
right.
And we approve it, and we'll give them a certain amount of money to help with their down payment.
Now, is this like needs assessment? In other words, if you have a rich first-time buyer, they don't get the money?
It's an application process. We definitely are going to go for people that we believe
need it the most.
Yeah, and we want to keep it with people that are in the county. We want to keep these kids that are graduating from schools and stuff. We don't want them to leave Calaveras County. We want them to stay here. We need those people. We want them. We need the more skilled labor and stuff here in Calaveras. And if it needs, this is what we can do to help. That's what we're going to do.
Is the industry reaching out to young people and so they can learn about real estate?
Actually, that's very interesting you ask that, because through the Chamber of Commerce, they've got a program where they go to the high schools, and they did it at Bret Harte and at Calaveras this year. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. But what they're doing is they have a big day where all different kinds of career fields were there, and people had to come. The students would have, the seniors would come in.
Like a job fair?
Like a job fair, but what it was is they actually would go and have a task. So you have to buy a home. So they would come and talk to the realtors. The realtors would give them the information, and then all of a sudden we'd say, okay, you have to go get pre-approved for a lender. So then we'd send them over to a lender.
Right.
And they're going through all these different processes. And if, for example, their task was, okay, you need to go rent a home,
right.
They would come talk to a property management company. Then the property management company would say, okay, great, you have to go talk to the electric company, the cable company, all the different companies to get everything set up, and then make sure what's your credit like, and they'd have to do a credit report. They'd have to do all that. So yes, we are reaching out, and I think we've got some great programs to help teach young kids in our neighborhood that are growing up in the county to be successful homeowners, renters, and move on from there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is maybe have a composition contest with prizes.
Yeah. But a lot of times if you do a composition or something like that, you're going to lose interest. Now, we do, at the Calaveras Board of Realtors, we do have scholarship programs, and we all offer scholarships to several students each year.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to go through a process, and we go from there and pick out scholarships. And at the end of the year, we go there and have to wait in line and go through all giving people scholarships, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's enjoyable. I've enjoyed real estate for 50 years now.
Well, I remember meeting you when I first got into real estate, and that was 20-some years ago. So
yeah, I really enjoy. I like people and I like land, and so it turned out to be a natural.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people know that you sit on our board of directors for the Realtor Board as well.
Yeah.
And so you've been a very pivotal part in making things good.
Well, we got good people.
Yes, we
got
do.
Really good people. Another item of concern that you have is waters of the U.S.
Waters of the U.S., yeah. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit about talking about CAR and NAR.
Okay.
Our whole concept there is that we are constantly working to homeowner property rights.
Right.
Okay. For example, we go to Sacramento every year in May, and we actually march up to the Capitol building, and we go through. We've had Governor Brown talk for the last 2 or 3 years at this, and it's a really big thing. And we go in and talk to our legislators and tell them what we really are concerned about when it comes to homeowner rights, when it comes to private property rights.
Right.
And it's pretty impressive to see that many realtors come up and, we all go in and talk to our different legislators. For example, for the California Association of Realtors, I'm a key contact for Assemblyman Bigelow. So I set up the meeting. We go and we talk to them and we tell them what our concerns about. Each year we have a certain amount of issues, and we ask if they can support or not support certain bills.
Right.
They are usually very accommodating, and it's really educational. Now, we do the same thing when we go to Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Realtors. And we go to Congressman McClintock, who's our congressman here.
Yes.
And last year, we actually were out on outside of the room because he was actually talking about a bill. So he came out and talked to us. So he sat there. We talked about what our issues were. A couple of them he agreed with us, a couple he didn't. But he had a good, he was very informative about all this.
Yeah.
So while I'm in Washington, D.C., or wherever the other meeting at the end of the year, I belong to the Land Use and Environmental Committee.
Right.
And on that, we're always looking for private property rights. And one of the issues that has been coming up is the waters of the U.S. This is actually where the EPA wants to take over all water, standing waters. Right now, they have control over all navigable waters.
Right. It's in the Constitution.
It's the Constitution, yes. But what I'm concerned about is if they take over all these, it's going to be a problem. I was in a meeting and I literally stood up and asked them if they want to take care of all waters or going to take charge of all these waters. What about our private wells? The wells that we have, that's water. And they kind of hem-hawed around it and says, well, actually that would be true because most of that water comes from water runoff and then goes into your well. So here's a scenario. We have a well, and then all of a sudden the EPA or something, they do a check on it and they don't like it. They can red tag that property. Your property is not worth anything because the EPA's got in charge of it. 2015, I believe it was, the president took and vetoed this. Now they're trying to rewrite it and actually come back with a different version. And no matter how it's wrote, it's not good.
And also, the 10th Amendment of the Constitution doesn't allow the federal government to even do that.
Well,
but nobody knows about the 10th Amendment.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So.
Well, I really agree. I think all the taxpayer associations in the state really would agree with you on how inappropriate it is for the federal government to seize control of water within the states.
Right. And we're constantly fighting to keep our water, and that's just a whole other story I don't want to get into on that.
We have another issue with the state on the legislation that they're doing, seeking to control groundwater.
Right.
And so we have some good people that are working on that hopefully it won't be as bad as it could be.
Right.
So waters of the U.S. Now, next item is market. The real estate market. Now that is a subject all in its own.
Yeah. Well, when I talk about the market is up and it's down,
right.
And it can flatten. And it's. We live in a county that has, I call them different microclimates.
Right.
For example, I live and work right out of Murphy's.
Right.
Well, Murphy's is a destination now. And you walk downtown on a weekend, it's hard. It's so packed. And everybody, for example, this last weekend, we had a big wedding in town. And there are a lot of people from Southern California. I handed out more cards because they just said, I love it here, and want to move up here. And, it's a great area. We have other areas, that aren't quite as populated, but yet they're beautiful no matter how you put it. There's not an ugly place in Calaveras County. And so it depends on what part of the county you're at. Some part of the county, real estate's probably gone down a little bit or leveled off. Some is still, doing pretty good. It just depends on what part of the county. But the market, I don't see it doing that bad in our county. I believe that we're holding our own. Now, I do a lot of commercial properties as well.
Right.
And, we're starting to see some commercial sales. We had right here alone in San Andreas, we sold the Black Bart Hotel. The people who buy, they did a complete makeover, and the building looks incredible. All the grounds looks great around.
Are they going to
it.
reopen the restaurant and bar?
They do. Well, the Black Bart right now is back open, the restaurant.
Okay.
But that's a different building. That's the old owner. They're still there.
Right.
But they are open, and they're doing very well. We've got a lot of stuff happening commercial-wise where, commercial is kind of a motivator to say, okay, are we starting to get more business in? I have to give a lot of props to the county. They've got the new economic advisor, or economic lady there, and she's doing an incredible job. And I believe that that's important. We need something like that to help bring in new businesses. And she was also working on a housing development down in Copperopolis, your part of the country, and they're doing very well there. That's what brought more homes, which we need. And I believe our county's doing pretty good, It's nothing like the Bay Area where we have astronomical, prices, but, we're comfortable.
Yeah, I found that a lot of my buyers are seeking seller financing.
Yes.
But on commercial, you don't have too much of that, I don't think, or do you?
Well, actually, on commercial, I would find a few properties, yes. Some of these people have had these properties for a long time, and because of tax purposes or something, they either going to do a 1031 exchange, move that over to other. But, there are, some owner financing out there. I can't say there's not. So, if I was somebody that had a commercial building and I was in a situation and, the return on my money probably wouldn't be that good. If I need to carry a note and it was a pretty good interest, I'd say yes. So it makes sense to me.
It seems like successful transactions are at the point where fear of loss is overcome by desire for a sale.
Yeah. We, it's interesting how you can be in a transaction and, some people are just very concerned about, they're desperate, and it could be detrimental to a transaction.
Yeah, there's a lot of people don't realize it's not just numbers. There's a lot of emotional content to real estate transactions.
I always say we're in a business of relationships.
Yeah.
And when I and I said this one other time, when I talk to one of my clients, I want to be their trusted advisor. I want them to feel 100% secure that what I tell them is the truth and that, I'm going to guide them through this. I had a story today. I closed a house with a couple, and they were in their 60s. This was their very first home they've ever bought.
Young people.
Yes, young. And you know what? They were so happy, and it was the part of it, I don't care if they're 20 or 60. Getting somebody into the home for their very first time, that is the best feeling.
Yeah.
And knowing that when you got them into that home, that night they're going to sleep and say, hey, this is mine.
Yeah.
That's very incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I've experienced the same thing. And real estate is, well, I don't know which is more important, childbirth or home, but maybe they're both important. But in childbirth, sometimes you have midwives, and midwives get to enjoy all the excitement of a baby, but are not responsible for it afterwards. Well, that may also be true for a realtor. You have all the enjoyment of a new home, acquiring a new home, and all the emotion that goes with it, but you don't have any responsibility after that.
Yeah. But a child or a home, they're both expensive.
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But yes, buying a home is probably the biggest expenditure you ever make in your life.
Yeah.
And, it makes a big difference. And we've got a lot of great agents in this county. And, I feel very good when walk around, and a couple days ago we had a class on how to price properties, and we had a big attendance, and there was a lot of good agents there wanting to succeed and want to take and increase their knowledge base to become a better realtor.
Yeah, and also there's regular courses that we must take to keep up to date on ethics and quite a bit.
Right. Ethics right now is that they've just changed that, where we have to take an ethics course every 2 years. And it's the same test, but you know what? I think, I've been doing it over 20 years. You've been doing it for over what?
50? Well, I've been at it for 50 years, but we didn't have the ethics test 50 years ago.
Oh, well, I'm telling you.
We had, in our real estate form, a purchase agreement was 2 pages.
Yeah.
And it worked well.
But the thing is that the ethics, even though it's the same thing every 2 years, it's something that you can never, ever, ever let go. You've always got to be ethical. Yeah. You've always got to. And then every 4 years, we take and have to renew our license, and we have to have so many hours every year to do that. And that's taking continuing education. And it's important.
Unless you're old and grandfathered in.
Okay. I would like to say more experienced.
It's a great profession. Now, you've been hired for a new job with the Association of Realtors, and that's to GAD, which is a government affairs director?
Yes.
And you're going to start working on that pretty quick.
Yes. I didn't expect this to happen, but, it just worked out good for me. I'm really passionate about our county, and passionate about the government, and I'm passionate about homeowner property rights. And as a government affair director for the California Association of Realtors, my job will be to bridge the gap between our Board of Supervisors, the city councils, the water district, and all that. I believe in the past we've kind of had a love-hate relationship. The Calaveras County Association of Realtors is the largest trade organization in Calaveras County.
Yeah.
And we should be the people that the supervisors or whoever come to for information when it comes to information about property, and feel secure that we will give them and not be opinionated about it.
Right.
And we need to work on a bipartisan plane where we can go to these meetings and start building that gap, bridging that gap, so that they know that they feel secure that I'm not going to be the guy going at them because they didn't pass this or they didn't pass that. I'm going to be the guy there saying, well, this is the way that we believe, this is the information, and, take it and see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
I believe that it's something that's very important, and I believe that we can do it in a very positive way.
Well, you certainly have the positive personality and the outreach attitude, so I know you're going to be a success. And we'll see you at the Association of Realtor Board of Supervisors, Board of Supervisors meetings. And thank you for being our guest, and we look forward to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. And remember, if you want to join our Taxpayer Association, just go to our website, which is calaveras.taxpayers.org. Thank you for watching. See you next time.